Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. Today we're talking Virtua Fighter. So we're coming hot off the heels of EVO, and we had this footage debut, Virtua Fighter 6's the new Virtua Fighter project, actual in-game gameplay, because we haven't seen that yet. No UI or nothing, that'll be in time. And for some people who are still confused, yes, this is 100% real gameplay. This isn't some cooked trailer stuff. So it's not like the second trailer we got where it was like a mocap proof of concept sort of deal. What you're seeing here, 100% in-engine, in-game. But yeah, so since EVO, the big trailer, lots of people very happy. We did a very big in-depth breakdown of this on the channel as well. It turns out also during EVO, there was some interviews done on site with the new Virtua Fighter project director, Riichiro Yamada, who works for RGG Studios. In fact, I tried to get an interview, although for my timing, it was a little too last minute, couldn't get one myself. But for all the other interviews, I figure I compile all the information that we've learned and put it all in this video. And if you want to check out the other interviews separately, I'll post those links in the video description. But you know, EVO, a pretty good time to get an interview from a fighting game director. And a very straightforward question to Riichiro Yamada was, hey, why now for Virtua Fighter 6, the new Virtua Fighter? And it's a pretty simple answer, actually, because in 2025, there really isn't any other 3D fighting games besides Tekken 8. As far as the other 3D major franchises like Soul Calibur and Dead or Alive, they're dormant. So when it comes to the 3D fighting game market in 2025 and going into the future, there's Tekken and nothing else. There is room for another game. And of course, you have to ask the inevitable question, what about Virtua Fighter versus Tekken? Used to be a very big rivalry, then Virtua Fighter kinda sorta went away, right? It's not like Tekken won the war, just Virtua Fighter stepped off the stage. And Lord knows some people are trying to keep the feud alive, certainly myself. I have to go into full-on troll mode sometimes to get a reaction out of people because I've got to do anything to keep VF on people's minds. So Tekken fans, if I ever got you riled up on something, it's all in the spirit of good fun. Trust me, I'm doing what Harada asked to keep the rivalry alive. But as far as Virtua Fighter vs. Tekken, so Riichiro Yamada says, VF used to clash a lot with Tekken back in the arcade days. And actually, as far as clashing with Tekken, it's something he hopes to avoid with the new Virtua Fighter. So Tekken is #1 right now as far as 3D fighting games, because there's only really the one option. But they're not looking to poach the Tekken player base for the new Virtua Fighter. They're looking to go global and appeal to all fighting game players, new and old. So effectively, just because, Tekken 8's not doing great right now, they're not just looking to steal Tekken 8 players, they're looking to get new Virtua Fighter players. Now, here Riichiro chooses some interesting words. I don't want to say anything bad about Tekken in case it goes viral, but going by player sentiment, Tekken and Virtua Fighter players aren't fond of each other. Virtua Fighter started it all, then came Tekken. They aren't brothers, but they aren't completely different either. Tekken evolved into the product that it is today, and Virtua Fighter came first. I feel no need to compete against Tekken or try to win against Tekken. I am focused in bringing something new into the world. So I do like the sentiment that, hey, we're not here to sling mud, right? We're not Tomonobu Itagaki, who once posted famously his top 5 most hated games, and it's Tekken 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But, hey, we're not slinging mud, just remember Virtua Fighters first, and Tekken came after. And, Tekken's not very different, because they sort of copied what we did. I like the subtlety of that one. Now, the next set of questions is basically just talking about, size and scale, right? And as far as VF is concerned, it's go big or go home. So just talking about presentation, right? I want people to be excited by looking at the footage and eventually inspiring them to play. If we can't get it to that standard and are unable to do high quality visuals, we wouldn't be doing this in the first place. We are here to make the game and show people on a global scale to get them excited. If we can't do that, what's the point? It's been almost 20 years since Virtua Fighter 5, and Virtua Fighter 5 has remasters, re-releases, new versions, all that kind of stuff. But, it's been nothing new since then. So now the company strategy for Virtua Fighter is to go global. The challenge is it's not the arcade days anymore. These days, it's all about either you play on console or you play on PC. And we try to have to merge the two worlds on that front. To be frank, not many younger people know about the franchise. In Japan, it's mostly older men. Maybe it's a little bit younger overseas, but that's why we need to create an amazing game to get all audiences worldwide. Otherwise, I don't think it will sell. So actually, I very much stand by that, right? I once made a joke. I'm the youngest Virtua Fighter fan because I'm in my 40s. And yeah, it's a stupid joke, but there's a sting of truth to that, right? They know they don't got to fool around. But yes, more VF5 to, get people acquainted with the franchise. Like we're doing Virtua Fighter 5 Revo World Stage, which will have a beta in September. It has all the consoles that have crossplay, re-up the training mode, it'll have new single player content. Get acquainted with Virtua Fighter, and for cheap, because it's very cheap. And, we do all that, but this has to be a mega project. You can't just appeal to the old timers on this one. Once again, go big or go home. Now, talking about the visual fidelity for Virtua Fighter 6, obviously, they got big plans. They want it to look good. It's very obvious to tell just from that initial gameplay footage we saw at EVO, right? It's not done. This isn't some gimmicky CG trailer. There's a lot of visual imperfections. Like I say, Stella looks good, but, there's some imperfections. There's some jaggies. It's not 100% there. So as far as the visuals go, they say they're about 70% of the way there right now. So a good chunk of it's done, and I think it looks great, right? But other, smoothing out jaggies, there's stuff that could be done better. So it's not all the way done just yet. There's still work in progress. Once again, no shock, the game ain't coming out this year. RGG Studio may work way faster than the average game company, but they don't work that fast. Now, when it comes to talking about modernizing the franchise, the fighting game community is a very different place these days from, say, when VF5 first came out almost 20 years ago. So when talking about the franchise as a whole, Riichiro Yamada says, at the beginning of Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua Fighter 5, the series did get a lot more complicated. And Virtua Fighter 6, a new project, it has to keep evolving as well. So they're looking on how to progress the game in terms of functions and gameplays to modernize it. We need to advance the game, the franchise of Virtua Fighter, if we're looking to sell copies. When it comes to talking about the new Virtua Fighter project, originally in the very first direct, they said, we are looking at two things: innovation and reality. And as far as innovation goes, well, can't talk about that just yet. We may have seen a little bit of it in the new gameplay trailer, but they're not talking specifics just yet. Hopefully, September Tokyo Game Show, we'll get more on that. But as far as the reality of it goes, it's hard to do reality just on graphics, because we're getting to the point of diminishing returns on graphics. You can make things look better and better, but not wildly so. When talking about reality is we're trying to make it more like a kung fu movie rather than a UFC fight. When talking about the reality being hit, you want to feel it. The sensation is something that they're aiming for in the new project. And I think that's fairly apparent from, the new footage, right? Definitely a lot more big hits in terms of cinematic feel and flavor. And also, not so much in the way of juggles. You still have juggle combos, but we're not necessarily floating you 10 feet up into the air. It's still a video game. It's still fantastical compared to a real world fight. But like they say, more like a kung fu movie. So if that's the direction they're going for, I think they're getting it. And on modernization, another big one is Virtua Fighter is a 3-button game. Punch, kick, block, right? The 3 buttons are core to everything Virtua Fighter. Is there any plans to change that? And Riichiro mentions series creator Yu Suzuki. So Yu Suzuki, back in the day, only wanted to have 3 buttons because they landed on it because it's simple and easy to play. 3 buttons doesn't scare people off. Compared to, say, more modern games, some people are getting a little scared off. Games like, Nan Impact 2XKO, you could argue they have too many buttons. So 3 buttons, punch, kick, block, done. That's easy, that's simple. That's how they brought people back in the arcade days. But they say they want to respect the fact, it's not the arcade days anymore. This is a household game. People play this, in their living room, in their bedroom, anywhere. They don't just go to an arcade anymore. So the concept of ease of use is the same. They don't want to stray away from that. But they're not necessarily focused on it has to be a 3-button game. It just needs to be a game that anybody can play. And we talked about in the gameplay trailer breakdown, right? Some things here, maybe it might be not a 3-button game anymore. Some of the, especially the defensive stuff, might be more than 3 buttons, but time will tell. Now, on the concept of the cast, one of the things that was asked here was, we talked about Stella. Stella is a new character. Yes, she looks exactly like Sarah Bryant. She seems to fight a lot like Sarah Bryant. But Stella is seemingly an all-new character, and her tagline in the new project is, she's the bridge between worlds. I guess the new and the old. And Riichiro was asked, what can you tell us about Stella? And the answer to that is a big fat nothing. No. N-O. I can't tell you nothing. Please look forward to more info. In this new Virtua Fighter, plot's going to actually matter for once. So Stella is probably a focal point of the plot. I'm excited. Other than Satan Shark, nothing's really ever mattered. So I'm excited to see where it's going to go. Now, as far as new characters go, Riichiro says that new characters are necessary to be added. So done. There will be new characters. What form, what shape that'll take, who knows. Now, as far as Akira though, Akira, is he still the face of the franchise? And the answer is effectively yes. So Akira is older now, right? So the characters, the original characters, need to evolve. The old designs are great, and you might notice here Akira has an all-new design. The old designs are great, but they need to move forward from the past. That's part of the reality aspect that they're aiming for, is people have, more realistic looks. Like, say, as me, a wrestling fan, right? Wolf, with the new look, looks like a mid-50s wrestler who's past his prime. Still looks cool, still looks physically imposing, and we've done breakdowns on the past, but he's a worn-down wrestler. They managed to give him a reality-based presentation that, as a wrestling fan, I can tell right away, he's wearing a knee brace, right? That's a physical imperfection. That's a physical infirmity. You don't show that on a fighting game character normally. You don't show a sign of weakness on your character. And yet, here he is. Wolf is in the Mickey Rourke phase of his life, right? And that's cool. I like that. I'm seeing that. You age up the existing characters, you give them more blemishes, more wrinkles and all that to add more character to them. But circling back to Akira, so Riichiro Yamada feels that when it comes to protagonists, he feels a lot of people buy the game because of the protagonist. RGG Studio famously makes the Yakuza games, right? So they had Kiryu as the protagonist of the Yakuza games, and then they changed over to Ichiban. And that's hard to do. Lots of people like Ichiban, but Kiryu will be the forever face of Yakuza. A lot more characters are going to get face time. But a lot of people are going to see Akira. That's maybe the one character they know from Virtua Fighter is Akira, and they might buy the game because he's there. From someone with a company that has a lot of experience, it's not so easy to switch over a main character. I feel he's being a bit hard on himself, honestly, because I think people like Ichiban. It also helps that Yakuza 7 is sort of a clean break for the franchise, but I don't know, people like Ichiban, but yeah, obviously Kiryu's still there. So there you have it, just a little bit more info on a franchise and a game we just kind of know very little about right now. We will get more of an info dump on the Tokyo Game Show that is later in September. So now that we have actual gameplay, maybe we'll get a few more characters announced, maybe a gameplay with UI, maybe we'll learn some more mechanics rather than just speculating. Who knows? I know we're still a while out, right? Certainly not this year. I don't even know if it'll be next year. If it is next year, it'll probably be holiday 2026. It's definitely not going to be first half or anything like that. Especially if they don't feel that they're done the visuals yet. But hey, I'm just excited. If you're watching this video, I know you're excited too. Whenever there is any more Virtua Fighter news or info, rest assured it will be covered here on the channel. I've been waiting just about 20 years for this game, so I'm more than a little invested. That all said though, that's the news for now, and that's it for the video. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Virtua Fighter.